The Coin Lady channel is pleased to have you back. Dear everyone, because he is so brilliant, David Schwartz is the most frustrating person to fight with on Twitter. By committing to come out on top in the debate. When we consider this in light of his statements on Twitter, we see that he claimed there's no incentive to run Bitcoin full nodes other than if you need to access the blockchain. In other words, he claimed that running Bitcoin full nodes is not necessary. Words like those can start a quarrel. Obviously, I'm going to leap right in. He claimed that the high cost was the sole justification for requiring evidence of employment or proof of stake incentives. Actually, there are enough validators on the XRP ledger to guarantee decentralized payment settlement. It's all about that, isn't it? You can avoid connecting to a third party to complete your transaction's payment, which is only one of many reasons to run a full node privately, I countered. Nodes have ultimate power, they run the network, can remove miners from it, and may change the rules. This means that I no longer need to rely on a third party. Instead, I can conduct my transactions directly with nodes. Access to blockchain data, participation in a decentralized system, and the opening of payment channels are all necessary for dealing with Lightning payments. He concurs with me on this point. Since the protocol was compensating participants, I would prefer that they operate full nodes for these reasons. Because of this, I froze and went, "Excuse me, just a moment." Excuse me? His point is that the protocol shouldn't arbitrarily and immediately cut you off from payouts for doing so, not that there's no benefit in doing so, rather, he's arguing that there should be some kind of incentive. Also, I can see how that would work. And this is the part that made me pause. Contains all the features I mentioned, none of which are unique to Bitcoin nodes, rather, they are incentives to run XRP ledger validators. Direct access to the blockchain without going via a third party, and protection of user privacy and blockchain data. Validators are run on the XRP ledger for these reasons. I suppose the main question is how much it will cost. Personally, it's just a tiny bit of power on my Raspberry Pi, so it's not a big deal. However, validators are far more expensive. It stands to reason that you would be prepared to pay the fee if you were operating a business. Is it possible for you to receive the scale? Can you bring individuals on board? Thus, he prompted me to reflect on this matter at length. I did have a question that needed answering. A new video will be required for that. Assuming he responds. He might or might not, David, you can never tell. On the other hand, I feel like this shifts my focus. In addition, pay closer attention to what David isn't saying, that is, that the network should not have incentives. Obviously, all he's trying to argue is that there ought to be other reasons than paying individuals to run validators. Such as the ones I mentioned before, and there are certainly many more hidden gems. As a crypto and XRP enthusiast, I respect him because he isn't afraid to take a hard look at things rather than blindly supporting them. And he's bringing up the fact that Ripple is attempting to hide the fact that they sold XRP to some consumers at cheap prices. Additionally, he has experienced the consequences of this. It will be quite easy and uncomplicated, in my opinion. My guess is that the judge will make it public if she plans to use it to base her punishments on the evidence. I imagine she'll hide it under a mask and keep it sealed if it's not destroying the Ripple, which is the actual reason the SEC wants it out there. In the end, I believe it will boil down to whether or not she has all the knowledge she needs to make a choice and determine the appropriate sentence. More than any of the points made in the SEC report, it is what will influence her decision. How this turns out in the end is something we cannot predict. I believe this is significant news about Ripple's forming a coalition to fight financial and online fraud alongside Coinbase, Meta Gemini, and Kraken. Having those phony ads on YouTube isn't the only place this is an issue. You can find various kinds of plans on Twitter. The industry is taking a stand by attempting to regulate its own ecosystem in order to safeguard people. This is a huge step forward, and it demonstrates that these large corporations care about the ecosystem. Swap with no hassle. It was intriguing to see how many times the Ripple case was cited in today's response to the Wells notice. So when they claim that Ripple didn't win, they're referring to the SEC one. It's abundant in them. Sure thing. That case was won by Ripple. Other crypto cases are citing that outcome if Gary Gensler were to Uniswap, therefore we know it to be true. They wouldn't bring up that case law or suggest that we should take a page out of the Ripple case's playbook to determine who won the war. Hetland Long's grab the popcorn moment. Cryptocurrency has formally emerged as a topic in the US presidential campaign. The anti-crypto army is disbanding right now, having proven to be a huge political bust. Both Joe Biden and cryptocurrency CEOs supporting Donald Trump have gone out and asked for donations in their campaign messages. A major problem now exists with this. The balance of power and wealth is shifting in our favor. This is when it becomes crucial to acknowledge that fact. Says Wolf of Wall Street, everything is different now. It appears that Democrats are standing firm against Biden and Warren by supporting cryptocurrency in the vote. Once more, they are putting their faith in those who would put money before principles. They aren't crypto enthusiasts, that's for sure. They don't give a hoot about us techies. Money is all that matters to them. Ultimately, it is the case. Who planned choke? Point 2.0 and whom Warren was discreetly shielding, the head of the FDIC. The damage they're attempting to cause there has been extensively discussed here. Now that that individual is stepping down, the ETF is more likely to be approved due to the change in the tide. I am astounded. Just like my friend Di warned you, tread carefully. That's the only thing I have to warn you about. Definitely not, you can never undervalue Gensler's influence. Our past experiences have taught us that. I couldn't agree with you more. Tell that sucker it's announced, but don't assume anything, you have no idea what Gary Gensler has planned. Also, he's probably telling folks right now that this is bad for them. Must I change my strategy? How can this benefit me? His ultimate career goal, of course, is to work for the Treasury. His desires are distinct. Maybe there's nothing in it for this individual to change his ways, you can never tell. Plus, politically speaking, they have no leverage to undermine him. His removal from his position is impossible. Nothing they do can compel him to do. So, it's likely that some negotiations are taking place behind the scenes. I mean, what kind of assurances or benefits does he stand to get by going there immediately on pivots? Because it is common knowledge that Elizabeth Warren has used Gary Gensler as a pawn. His policy is different on this. As far as crypto is concerned, he is merely a lackey acting in accordance with orders. So, we'll have to wait and watch what happens if he decides to change his position and stop taking that stand. Nothing, however, is concrete at this time. Exactly what will transpire is a mystery to us. Also, it's probably just Gary Gensler being a jerk if you have an unexpected rejection. Even while it may cause major problems for crypto in the near future, we will know for sure when it happens and it will show up in politics. The video concludes with that. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel and give me a like. Muchas gracias, depart.